Aloha and welcome everybody, depending on where you're sitting. It's either Friday, October the 7th or Saturday, October the 8th, 2022. And this is Supporting Holistic Systems, a special edition today. I'm so pleased to have a special guest to come and share with us about her social change project and her way of sharing NVC in the Philippines. So I'm feeling excited about that and curious to find out what I can learn. I get to sit back and be a lazy giraffe today and just sip my tea and enjoy learning with you. So I will turn it over to you, Amina. And if you have any need for support, breakout rooms, or anything like that, you can just ask me.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. And good morning, everyone. Greetings of peace from the Philippines. Yes. I am happy to see you all, although virtually. To begin with, I would like to start with a remembering, and I am sure everyone is familiar with remembering. For me, it is very important for me to start my day with the so-called remembering. I learned during my first training on NVC, I learned about this remembering, and when I returned to the Philippines, I started doing my remembering by using the different verses in the Holy Quran, the Islamic holy book, for me to get deeper into my own faith. So every day I have to read a verse from the holy book, and then I get to, it's more of a self-connection exercise. So I find it very helpful in my daily life. So I would like to begin with a remembering, but not the verse from the Quran, but it's a piece from Jane Goodall. So I would like to read the piece first. The title is, If I Could Live My Life Different Again. I would have stayed in bed when I was sick instead of believing that the world would collapse without me if I didn't go to work that day. I should have said less and heard more. I would have invited friends over for dinner, even if my carpet had some minor stains or the couch had faded. I would have eaten popcorn in the good room and cared a lot less about the dirt if someone wanted to light the fireplace. I would have listened closer to the stories of my mother told about his or her youth. I would have shared the more responsibility with my husband or wife. I would never insist on having the car windows closed on a summer day because my hair looks good. I would have laughed and cried less in front of the television than I watched live. I would have sat on the grass if it stained my clothes. I would never have bought anything just because it was handy. Instead of wishing the 9 months of pregnancy would pass soon, I would have appreciated every moment and understood that the miracle growing inside me was my only chance at life to help God or the divine being perform a miracle. If my kids kissed me, I'd never say, not now, go wash your hands with dinner first. There would be more I love you, more sorry. But more than anything else, if I had another chance again, I would use every minute to really pay attention to my life, to live more intensively. Stop worrying about little things. Don't give your attention to someone who doesn't like you. Instead, feel and appreciate the relationships you have with those who are good for you and your soul. I would like to give you a minute to let it sink in. Okay. So at this point, I would like to hear some of you. What is alive in you after hearing the piece that I just read? Anyone can share? Yes. Selby?
Yes. Hi. Um, it's making me remember that how important is to be with the people around us instead of doing things. So just keeping in mind and being aware how important it is to be with the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Selby.
Um, this is Roya. Can I talk or do we have to raise hands? Oh, okay.
You can.
Uh,
Okay,
First,
yeah.
I read my Quran too when I have time. But I think what you read, the passage was about to stay at present time and enjoy the moment and don't worry about ahead of time about things and enjoy the kiss they give you instead of worrying about the uh, dirty hands and all of that. So that's what I got out of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Roya.
Well, I enjoyed it, and I notice a certain quality of. I echo everything that everybody else has already said, and I also notice in me when I hear something like this, I want to collect it. I want to have it somehow, and so that I can share it with people or whatever. And so I see this kind of competing thing. It's all about being really present and letting life flow and enjoying it. And I still see this thing in me that wants to grab a hold of things or people or events or whatever and hang on to it somehow and get attached in some way to it. And then I'll read what Sophia, who does not, by the way, speak English, Amina, I'll read what she said into the chat. The mist feeling felt like a drop falling from my stomach area to my belly. The realization that I had left behind the sensation that existed in each moment. I remember the time when I was surrounded by my very loving parents. I miss the time when my rebellious self said and did things that were the opposite of what I felt.
Thank you, Sophia. Thank you, Jim.
Could I speak quickly?
Yeah, sure.
That really reminded me of, actually, I felt a great deal of sadness because I had a lot of moments like that where I pushed because there was one more thing I had to do so that the kids could get in bed at, 8 o'clock, and it was 4 in the afternoon. So I just had all this sadness and, a little bit of the sweetness of remembering the goodness, but the sadness that I pushed through those things. Thank you for this.
Thank you, Eric. So if there are no more sharing, I would like to continue. Okay. Probably Jim mentioned to all that my sharing today will be about the culture of dialogue, path to peace. The title of my sharing today is about culture of dialogue, path to peace. And before I go into that, I would like to share with you the context where I am coming from and the context why this kind of module or this sharing that I will be doing today has been crafted. I was born and raised in Marawi City. Marawi City is located in the northwest part of the Philippines, and Marawi City is the home of the Maranaos. These Maranaos are one of the 13 ethno-linguistic groups of Muslim Filipinos in the Philippines. So Maranao means people of the lake because we are living around the lake, the second largest lake in the Philippines. And basically, the city where I was born and raised is isolated. And as a Maranao, as a Muslim Maranao growing up in an isolated city, I was not aware of what was going on outside of me, outside of the city. So the first experience I had was that when I went out of the city to study in the university, that is 3 hours from Marawi City, I was surprised and I was shocked that while looking for a boarding house to stay, I could not find one. When I go to one boarding house, they would say no vacancy. And then later on, for five boarding houses that I went to, they would always say no vacancies. And then a friend of mine told me they will not accept you because you are a Muslim. By the time they read my name, Amina, and the place where I am from, they can easily identify me being a Muslim Maranao. So no vacancy. So that was my first experience. And then after college, and then I applied for a job. The same experience when you fill up the personal information and you place your name and where you are from and your religion, it's the same. And these are first-hand experiences of mine. And after college and after having my own family, we had to find a house to stay as a family. And the same experience, looking for a house was not very easy for us when they see that the information about the family is we are from Marawi City and we are Muslims. So those are the 3 major experiences that I had. And these things motivated me to join peace advocacy because, as I've said, it was very difficult to find a job being a Maranao. And ask why leave Marawi City? Why not work in Marawi City? Why not stay in Marawi City? I want to go out of Marawi City because I want to experience peace. Because in the city where I live, for example, as early as 6 years old, I had experience of fleeing our home because of the war that broke between the government troops and the rebel Moro or the rebel groups. And then not only that, when I was growing, there were clashes, there were wars in Marawi City, and the major one was in 2017 when my hometown was razed to the ground. There was the war between the ISIS-inspired groups and the government troops, so they had to bomb my hometown. Okay. And in Mindanao, in the place where I live, it is located in Mindanao, and in the Philippines in general, there exists this historical prejudice between the Muslims and the Christians. And when I say historical, it has been there for the last 500 years and until this time. And I do not want that the future generation, not only the future generation of Muslims in the Philippines, but everyone, I would like them to live a society where there is no stereotyping, no prejudices. So that is why I involved myself. I became very active in peace advocacy. I started my advocacy in 1988. And until this time, I continue my advocacy. I learned NVC in 2007. And my learning of NVC has reinforced my the module that I am sharing as far as peace advocacy is concerned. So that because of these existing prejudices and biases, in 1988, together with other peace advocates, we crafted a module. We made a module that we would like to share to everyone in the Philippines to give them an understanding of how we are going to live in peace, side by side with each other, without identifying you are a Muslim, I am a Christian. Why is it that it is focused with the Muslims and Christians? Because majority of the population in the Philippines, well, it's a Catholic Christian dominated country. I think 95%, and 5% are the Muslims, and we are located in Mindanao. Okay, the Muslims are in Mindanao. So not only in my place where we experience war, but also different areas in Mindanao who are that are inhabited by the Muslims. There are also existing wars. So from time to time, the Muslims in Mindanao have this experience of fleeing their homes, going to evacuation areas because of the war. And these things going on here were the ones that motivated me to join peace advocacy, and as much as possible to bring change, social change. During those times, I was so very idealistic. I want to change the world. And at times, I get frustrated because despite the efforts that I, together with other peace advocates, are doing, we still experience war. And thanks to NVC, because when I learned about NVC, I came to this, the process of, I came across the 0-step gym, like the intention, my presence, and the outcome. So I bring this with me, that it's more of my intention. What is my intention in doing this, in being involved in this peace advocacy? and then my present. And then I am open to outcome now that I learn about NVC. Before, every time that I have all these efforts put into sharing about peace, and then a war will come up, it was so very frustrating on my part that at times I would say, oh, stop. I will not continue my advocacy. But being connected with myself and being clear with my intention, with my presence, and open to possible outcome, it has helped me. And this is the reason why, until this time, despite the challenges, despite the war, I still continue to be in peace advocacy. Well, I also believe that I cannot change the world, but I can begin with myself and with my family and with the community where I am in. And this is already something. Okay. So that's somehow the background of this module that I am going to share with you. So I will share my screen. I am quite nervous actually when I decided to share this, because this is my first time that I will be sharing this outside of the Philippine context. So I'm a bit nervous, like as to will the message come across? Will this be like thoughts like that? Okay. So the title is The Culture of Dialogue, Path to Peace. To begin with, I would like to ask you, like, to think of a situation in your home or in your community, the reality that you are experiencing as far as violence is concerned. Think of a situation. We can begin at home, and then we can look at the community. We can look at our community where we are in, and what is the reality we are experiencing in our home and in our community. And the second question is, what is your dream? Given this reality that you are in, what is your dream? You can type that in the chat box if you want to say something, or if you want to share something. Yes, Eric, yes.
I've really enjoyed your personal story very much so far, your personal journey. I'm so glad I chose to be here, because I was thinking, who is this person? And now I'm just so glad I chose to spend this time and to hear your story. I haven't heard this story, and so thank you. I'm very, very interested, and you've got me engaged. I just wanted to say that. Thank you. It's meeting
Thank you,
lots of
Eric.
needs for me for learning and growing growth and understanding and hope and peace and alignment towards peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Amina, would you like us to share?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's festival time in India, and we have huge celebrations in the community. It's the Sera, where people get together in the evenings and they dance in large circles. So the entire community gets together. And I've been particularly disturbed by I've been particularly disturbed by the fact that there were video reports of how some Muslims were treated who tried to join these circles of dance, and there was public flogging. And this is not the India of my dreams. So I mean, I think we are headed towards. I mean, not we are headed. We are being divided, and it's a very horrifying idea of India for me, because there's so my dream is to be able to live in a country where we see each other as human beings and not all the other trappings. And where I am today, it seems very far away.
Mhm.
It seems slipping away. We had it once, and it seems as if it is slipping through our fingers.
Thank you, Sudha, for sharing that. Okay, there are chat messages. I feel the violence, not domestically, but what the government of Iran, who is not Muslim, like ISIS is not Muslim, is now brutally killing all women who ask for no hijab. And reality, war in Ukraine, a dream, restoration, and healing of all sides involved. In Islam, nothing is mandatory, but the regime in Iran calls it mandatory hijab. Okay, so this is our reality. Jim, would you like to share something?
Yeah, I was just thinking what I'm noticing is the reality is similar to what Suda I think was talking about, but more at the level of mostly it's just about talking, but I'm worried about it going to become more violent. But in the United States, with the election coming up, there the observation is that the two sides appear to me, the Democrats on one side and the Republicans on the other side, appear to me to be quite polarized and not willing to compromise or talk, or they're just doing a lot of finger pointing, a lot of enemy images, and so forth. And my dream would be that we would listen more than talk, and that we would really try to understand each other to get to the level of needs, and then together collaborate to find solutions that don't involve enemies and violence. Yeah, I'm finished.
Thank you, Jim. And from Sophia, isolation and separation are occurring in the home. Pain is being released and the flowing threading is occurring. Restoration within the home is not enough. When we leave our homes, we want to feel a sense of being included in the community, of being connected to people and nature. That life and existence are treated with care, and that there is an involvement and communication that allows us to feel these things mutually. I want to live in a world where I can enjoy the process rather than the result, or where the process is given value. Okay, thank you, Sophia. So,
Thank you.
so this is the reality that we are living in. And of course, each one of us has a dream. Like in my case, I am living in this kind of reality wherein you have this, you have this fear that someday a moment will come again that there will be another war, like what had happened in my hometown. Actually, after my hometown, it was followed by another town in Mindanao. So it was also razed to the ground. And until this time, my hometown has not yet been restored. And 98% of the population were displaced, actually. And my dream is, well, to live in a place where I can be in harmony with other people and without the labels. Because another reality of mine is that when they look at me wearing the hijab, it's stereotyping that, oh, she is a Muslim, that if I am riding a bus or I am going to call a taxi, and when the driver would see me wearing my hijab, the driver will not stop. The driver will not pick me up. So this is the reality that I am in. And my dream is really to have this like living without this stereotyping, without this prejudices between Muslims and Christians and people of other living faiths, not only the Muslims and the Christians. Like Suda said, we can live treated as human beings. And this is what I always share when I share NVC, that if I am sitting here, we remove the labels. Like I am not a Muslim, you are not a Christian, but we are human beings. So I always share this in my trainings and in my workshops. So this is the reality that we are experiencing, and this is the dream that we like in the future. And if we look at it, there is this gap. So the gap between the reality and the dream, our dream. Okay? So that the module that I am sharing with you is with the gap between the reality and the dream that we like, we propose to have or create the so-called culture of dialogue. So what is this culture of dialogue that we are going to, we encourage people to create? So a culture of dialogue is a style of life. So this is not merely just creating a culture, but a style of life characterized by a deep relationship of love, understanding, solidarity, unity, and peace among peoples of various cultures and religions. So when we crafted this is what we saw, that there is the need to create this kind of culture. If we can create, for example, some cultures are transmitted, some cultures can also be created. Like this time we have this culture of the internet, this new technology. We can create some kind of a culture, and if we can create such kind of culture, there is also the possibility of creating a culture of dialogue. And this culture that we are going to create will be developed as a style of life for everyone. So there is this deep relationship of love, understanding, solidarity, unity, and peace among peoples of various cultures and religions. And in this culture, we are inviting peoples of different cultures and religions to know, understand, respect, appreciate, and learn from the beauty and uniqueness of other cultures and religions. So we do not close ourselves, we do not isolate ourselves that this is the best culture is my culture, the best religion is my religion. We do not close that door. We would like, in this culture that I am sharing with you, this is open for all. And that we are encouraged that if I am a Muslim, I would like to know more, understand more, and respect and appreciate from the Christians, from the Hindus, from the Buddhists, and all other people. I would like to learn from them also. And I would also like to appreciate and see the uniqueness and beauty in their cultures and religions, because it is only by knowing what is in their culture and religion that we also understand why they are acting this way and why they are doing these things. So it's really a deep relationship with different people, not just with my neighbors. But ideally, when I was beginning to share this, I can imagine like, gathering all people of different cultures and religions. But then in reality, I realized that I can do this if I start with myself. And I can do this if I start with my neighbor, not necessarily the whole world. Because it is impossible for me, like here being in the Philippines, it's not possible for me every day to travel around the world. So I can start with my neighbor. I can start, for example, with my family, because even in our families, we have this misunderstanding sometimes. Yeah, there is at times in the family, we do not even understand. At times, we do not also respect the choices of our children, for example. Okay? We do not appreciate and also learn from them, because in my experience, for example, as a mother, in the past, I always tell my children that I want you to become this. I want you to be a teacher. I want you to be an engineer. I want you to be like this. I do not listen to what they want. And then later on, I realized that promoting this culture of dialogue, it does not only speak about religion, it also speaks about the relationship in the home, the decisions of my children and my own decisions. So that although they are children, I also need to learn from them, because they have also they also have their own things. So I will listen to them, and I will also appreciate what they are sharing to me. And I need to see the beauty and the uniqueness. Although they are my children, it's not only about me. It's also about my children and other members of my family. They have also their own unique attitudes, and not only their culture, because of course, when we talk about culture, we have the same culture. We have our own religion. But in other aspects, if I practice this culture of dialogue, I do not only look at the culture, I have to start with appreciating the beauty and the uniqueness of every individual that I will meet. Not only, well, as a Christian or as a Muslim or what other religions you have there. Just being an individual. Appreciating the beauty and uniqueness of each person. And that is why in my daily life, I integrate, like when I am meeting somebody, when I am talking to somebody, I always have in mind that this person is sacred. The person I am talking to is sacred. So that I have to take off my shoes because I am entering a sacred place. And this is the person. And if I can do that, the connection is there. Because the other person is just like me. She's like me. So I can easily connect with the person because I understand and I appreciate his or her beauty and uniqueness. And it is very easy to connect with people if you have this in mind. In the beginning, I was so idealistic that, oh, it's more of culture and religion. And this thinking of mine was reinforced when I learned about NBC. It's not only about your culture and religion, it's your beauty and uniqueness as a person. Okay? And this culture of dialogue has dimensions. It has two dimensions. One is personal transformation, and another one is social transformation. When I say personal transformation, as I was saying earlier, it starts with the self. It is very difficult to influence other people if you yourself is not transformed yet. So I believe that in order for me to spread peace and to spread NVC, I need to transform myself first. And by then, I can influence other people in my family, in my society, so that we can have a social transformation. What I am sharing is more of my experiences, okay? And at the same time, the theories behind the culture of dialogue. I remember when I first learned about NVC, it's a different experience for me, learning about NVC. I was introduced to NVC in 2007. And then this typical OFNR, observation, feeling, need, and request. I was so excited at that moment when I was learning about the process, and I was telling myself, oh, when I get home, I will share this and I will apply this to my children, because as a mother, I have 3 daughters, and they were, when I learned NVC, they were in high school. And my struggle at that time, the typical mother, that when I went into the rooms, for example, I see things in mess. Beds are not arranged, shoes are everywhere. So every day I have to remind them from time to time, oh, you have to put these things and that things in order. When I learn about like OFNR, oh, I see, this is an effective way, because in my experience, it's every day reminding my children about arranging the bed and putting the shoes in the shoe rack and all these things. So when I came home from my training, I had it sunk in for about 3 days, and then I start talking to them, and this time using the OFNR. Okay? I observed that when I came into your room, your pillows is not in their place, your blankets are not yet folded, your shoes are under your bed, and there are some garbage around, pieces of paper. And I feel frustrated and disappointed because my need for orderliness and cooperation were not met. Would you be willing to put your da and all these things? And my youngest daughter answered me, "Oh, Mama, what have you eaten in Germany?" And then I answered, "I was just telling you to arrange your room, and now you are asking me what I had eaten in Germany." So the connection was lost because what I was telling them was more of the theories. Okay? So that was the first experience learning about NVC. So that because later on, they saw in me, I am talking about the personal transformation, because they saw in me how the way I talk to them and the way I connect with them later on, um, they were also influenced. And even my husband and my three daughters were also influenced by me, uh, the way I connect with them, the way I speak with them. So they also learn. So they were, I believe that in order for you to influence others, there has to have a transformation first for yourself. If you want to see change, change yourself first. You do not teach them. For example, I can only share what I know, but I cannot teach them. I cannot force them. At the end of the day, it's their choice. Okay? So with how I am practicing NBC and with how I am dealing with people, other people appreciated and they would ask, how come you were able to do that? Okay? So it's more of this is what I believe, that if you are personally transformed, it's like it will just come out naturally out of you, and then by that you can influence other people. Okay? I also would like to share an experience wherein I was invited to speak in a gathering of police officers, and I shared about peace. Here in Mindanao, we have this so-called Mindanao Week of Peace. So you can just imagine that we have many peace initiatives here in Mindanao because of the war going on from time to time. So that we also, as peace advocates, we also have this Mindanao Week of Peace. And during this Mindanao Week of Peace, we go to different groups, we share about peace. And there was one time where I was invited to share with police officers. So I shared my piece about peace. Okay. And at the end, I asked the police officers, there were around 150 police officers who were there. And then at the end, I asked, do you have any feedback or reflections on what I just shared with you? And one police officer came to the microphone and said, Amina, I salute your advocacy in peace, and I really appreciate what you had just shared earlier. But you know what? There is a question I am carrying with me, and I would like to ask you this. And he said, at your back, because there was a big, like a tarpaulin at my back where it says Mindanao Week of Peace. And then he said, at your back, there is printed there, Mindanao Week of Peace. And you shared, you are a Muslim, and you shared very well about peace. But are you aware who is bringing peace in Mindanao? You Muslims. Oh, and I had to Oh, breathe. I had to take a very, very deep breath. Oh, and I said, sir, are you frustrated and are you sad because blah, 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 and all these things? And at the moment, uh, I was not judging the person. The thing for me is I would like to connect with the person because something is going on. There are needs behind the statements of the person. Okay. And to make the story short, at the end, it was not, it was a very vague question, but you know what? At the end, I found out the problem was that he only wanted to access, or he wanted that officer, they wanted to enter a barangay in the place where we are living, which is populated by the Muslims. And they want to go in there because of issue on drugs and they cannot penetrate the place. So that was his issue. But from that issue, it was at the beginning, it was very like the question was, you Muslims are the ones bringing and peace in Mindanao. Okay. So if I was not with my NVC training, if I was not giving empathy to the person, we could have, well, I could just have answered him in a jackal way. I can answer him like, for example, oh, you are the law enforcers. Why blame the Muslims? So I could have answered him that way. But then for me, it's more of, I want to connect to the need of the person. And at the same time, I also expressed how his statement came across to me. And there was the connection there. So that I am referring to the personal transformation, so that when you are transformed, it is very easy to influence other people. And you know what happened after that? They had been inviting me for the, like, from that time on, I had like workshops with the police trainees on nonviolent communication. And some others who were there asked me, Amina, how did you do that? And I said, I was listening from my heart and I was speaking from my heart. That's all. Yeah. So there, with this experience and all other experiences, I always believe that there is really the need for personal transformation first before we can influence others. So we can have a society that is transformed. So we have the social transformation. And this module on culture of dialogue, there are guiding principles. So there are 3 guiding principles of this culture of dialogue. One is sincerity. Okay? So in order, if you are going to engage in peace or to connect with other people, sincerity has to be there. Otherwise, you will just take it just an ordinary project. A project of peace is not that easy. A project of social change is not that easy. But if you have the sincerity, and again, I would like to go back to the 0 step, the intention. If you have this clear intention and the presence, and you are open to outcome, you will have the sincerity to go into this advocacy. And this is what I learned. There is a need to be sincere. Otherwise, if I do not have this sincerity, I could have given up this project. I could have given up this advocacy because as I can see, well, after all the efforts and then there is war, useless. But because of the sincerity is there, I go on despite the different challenges. Okay? And then another one is sensitivity. And this is where your empathy comes in. If you are sensitive with the other person, like I would not want to like ask more questions if the person is not willing to share more. This is where empathy comes in our sensitivity. Okay. The reason why this is my own reflection, the reason why some of the peace initiatives here in Mindanao are not really working, because it's more of, well, if you get into a certain culture, like in our culture, you also have to understand the beliefs and practices of these people before you introduce something. And this has been happening here in Mindanao. Other peace initiatives, it's not possible because they just come in because we want to introduce peace. We want to share this to the, well, in my tribe, for example, the Maranaos, the Muslim Maranaos. But that is not what we want. We want something else and not this one. Like, for example, at the moment, if you go to Marawi City and or you go to the places where these internally displaced families are located, you cannot tell them that we would like to introduce peace. We would like to introduce like trauma healing, because at the moment, this is not their need. Their need is like food, shelter, and not these trauma healing sessions. Well, it is important to let them undergo trauma healing, but we need to address one after the other. So there is, if you are going to be in this culture of dialogue, there has to be sensitivity as one guiding principle. And then the third one is solidarity. I am with you. In your suffering, I am with you. And the people, and those especially people who are suffering, will really know if you are in solidarity with them, if you are sincere and sensitive with what you are telling them, and if you are with them. Okay? So it is important to have these guiding principles. And here, I can see the integration of NBC here in all these things. Okay. And this culture of dialogue, aside from its guiding principles, it has 4 pillars. Okay. So one is dialogue with God, the divine being. As I've said, we come up with this given the context that I am coming from. So it's dialogue with God, and then usually I include dialogue with the divine being, because like, for example, here in Mindanao, we have another group of people that do not, they are not Muslims or they are not Christians, but we call them Lumads, and their worship is more on the environment. Okay, so I include dialogue with the divine being. So what do you do? It's not only about the structural prayer. Like, for example, in Islam, we have 5 times daily prayer. And then we have these verses in order to be recited in your prayer. So in my case, I do that. I follow the structure. At the end of my prayer, I always integrate the self-connection, because I find it very important, the self-connection. And I can talk with my God, not only following just reciting all the verses. I have time to talk with my God. And by doing so, by doing the self-connection, And by understanding what I am saying to him, I need to do the self-connection at the end of my prayer, after following the structure of my daily prayer. And I believe with the Christians, they also have this structure in their prayers. And for me, since learning about NBC and doing the self-connection exercise, it has helped me to have this deeper relationship with God and with the divine being. That is one pillar. And another one is dialogue with the self. It's not merely about breaking or processing my issues with other people, but it is more of self-empathy. It is very difficult, like for example, to just tell yourself like, I would like to break down the prejudices that I have with other people, with the Christians or other groups or other religions. But in my experience, when you do the self-empathy, all the more you can get into yourself and be able to identify what are these prejudices and biases, and what am I feeling about this? What is my need? What is my request for myself? And by doing this, it has helped me a lot. Yeah. And then the third one is dialogue with others. And this is where giving empathy and honest expression comes in. Because after my dialogue with myself, I can express myself with all honesty to other people. And at the same time, I can listen to them. Okay. And we included dialogue with creation because, well, in the context of the Philippines, as I've said, at times the creation is being set aside, the environment, so that we are also affected by the global warming. Aside from the experience of the war, we also have this experience of flooding everywhere. Every time rain comes, we have these several typhoons that hit the Philippines. The worst was the one in 2010, 2011, which killed almost 10,000 people, and infrastructures destroyed. And every year we have this typhoon. And if we do not care for the environment, where will we go? With all that is happening, as far as the environment is concerned, where will we go? Just like when the pandemic struck, we were just in our homes, and instead of like, for me, instead of looking at the pandemic, well, it was very challenging. But for me, it has also brought some realizations like, well, taking care of the environment. We need to take care of our environment. Because if we lost this, where will we go? And I remember the saying of Albert Schweitzer, like, if man cannot extend his compassion to other living things, man will not find peace. So we need to extend our, not only with God, not only with ourselves, but not only with other people, but also with the whole of creation, especially our environment. Okay. And question is asked, why this culture of dialogue? Why not other things? Why this culture of dialogue? For me, I believe that each one of us, for example, for me as a Muslim, my human and spiritual aspirations are geared towards God. And aside from this, other people, their human and spiritual aspirations are geared also toward peace. So if we can create a culture of dialogue, it will be very helpful. That is why if the question is why culture of dialogue, that is why the culture of dialogue. It's because my aspirations, my human and spiritual aspirations are geared towards God, and other people's aspirations also are geared towards peace. And how? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do this culture of dialogue? Like live life in dialogue. As a person, I will live life in dialogue. And at the same time, I will share my experience to other people in the hope that I will be able to influence them to also live life in dialogue. And by doing so, we can create more until such time that we have this kind of culture of dialogue, which is hope that it can contribute to peace. So that is well, the module. So I would like to take down my slide so I can see everyone. So that is my sharing. So I would like to hear your feedback if you have some.
Go
I
ahead.
guess, yeah. So first of all, I'm so glad that I joined this session. I'm so glad for several reasons, because I find that having listened to your sharing, Amina, I find it very uplifting. I find hope. And there were several things that you said that really impacted me, and I'm carrying them with me. One of them is the image of when I'm entering into a dialogue with somebody, it's a sacred space, and I need the invitation to symbolically remove my slippers or my footwear and enter that space. That was hugely powerful for me. And I'm thinking of all the different places that I would like to make this personal transformation when I enter into a dialogue. I think it's been very, very powerful for me. For me personally, my huge difficulty is not with the Muslims, or with any other religion, but with people who say they're carrying forward the torch of my own religion, which is Hinduism. So the divide is so deep now that, WhatsApp groups, etc., it's very hard to connect. And so what I'm finding is a way to stay grounded. And I don't think it can happen without my connection with the last bit which you ended with, human and spiritual aspirations. I think that was very powerful for me. So I like the way you have applied NVC to your immediate surroundings. The flexibility and the spaciousness that it has created both in you, and I think what comes across is how do I reach out to people who think differently, or who I think differently. and to connect at that very, very basic human level. I'm truly inspired. Thank you.
Thank you, Sudha. Hi, Jury.
Oh, how sweet to be able to come down here and look at you and hear what I hear and celebrate you and see all my other friends here too.
Thank you, Jury. I'm happy to see you too.
Yeah, I thought I was just coming down to visit him. I got the whole gang.
I too am inspired, Amina, and I'm really glad that I took some notes, and I really like I like the idea of centering on dialogue. That it's and then maybe there's the opportunity to teach basic NVC skills to help facilitate these dialogues, because they could get hot. You know, you actually succeed in getting Republicans and Democrats, or Muslims and Hindus, or Christians and whoever together. There might be heat. And so it seems like it also calls upon us as trainers to do some basic training for people who might facilitate, who might participate, and also to be present, to kind of live NVC as the facilitators of these kinds of dialogues. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Hear from others as well. Corey, did you want to say something? I saw you just blink on.
Am I on? Yeah, I was very inspired. Thank you so much. I think I'm going to hold that story of talking to the policeman. That really stuck with me. I didn't fully understand, but when you said there was like 100 police there, that sounds like that could be a bit overwhelming. Right. And I was touched, you know, that you had the presence of mind to speak to him the way you wanted to. It sounds like from your heart that you did. And also taking with me the 3 things that start with S, the sincerity, sensitivity, and solidarity. I like that a lot. You know, these words that we use a lot don't cover everything. And I like how sensitivity has got a little kind of a different, what would we call that? It encompasses different things, and I like it very much. And so thank you so much. It was such a gift. There's so many things. Yeah. I hope you made a copy of this, Jim, the recording.
I did, and I'll put it up on the YouTube channel.
Good.
Great.
Thank you, Corey.
And Sophia wrote, I love your voice, Amina. Would you like to read what Sophia wrote?
I see. Isolation and separation are occurring in the home. I think I read this already.
I think this is a new one.
Oh,
It says 418. Maybe. Oh, you're right. You're right. It was.
A repeat.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. I always feel that I am present in something as big as God and nature, and that the big world is inside of me. A feeling similar to the feeling I felt at the remembrance. And I am happy to have a feeling like I might be able to do it. I was thinking about what a beautiful world it would be if we could have a dialogue to wish together in that big one. I think I can take a different step when I become aware that the divine presence is another person to whom man's spiritual desires are directed. I want to make sure I don't let go of my intentions. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sophia. And all the wisdom and support for you in your work. Thank you, Dana. And well, I am doing this peace advocacy. I mentioned I started it in 1988, and I have no way of measuring has this influenced other people. Well, except for my family and in the community where we are living. So in 2013, I decided to set up a home for orphaned children and at the same time abandoned children. And these are Muslims and Christian children together, living together. They came in when they were around like 10 years old. And as a family, we are helping them in their education, their food, and daily needs. And there are 17. I started with 3, and then it became 6, and then 17, and now they are 18. And they are no longer children at this time. They are teenagers, and they are going to school. And when I started the home, my intention was first to support these children. These are orphaned. So I would like to support them until such time that they become independent. They can stand on their own 2 feet. And then they can also help other children like them in the future when they already have their own stable jobs. And actually the formation in the home, because of course, aside from their daily tasks at home, we have this weekly coming together. And I share to them about this dialogue because these are Muslims and Christian children. And then it is also anchored on NBC, though I do not, I at the beginning, I had to teach them how to do the 4 steps and the NVC model, of course, and then how to do the empathy and self-empathy. And now, in the past, I was worrying about what would be the impact of the advocacy that I am doing. That was the question in my mind from time to time. But now I do not ask that because I can see the children now with me, and I see in these children and in these teenagers that there is an impact of what I am doing and what I am telling them, especially on NVC, because you know what, they know how to give empathy to other people, like with their classmates. They can do empathy and they can also do self-empathy. And I am really amazed that, oh, if we can start like teaching young people about NVC and about dialogue, we can really produce more and more people, young people who will be into this advocacy. Yeah. There was an experience actually in the past because of the sensitivity that I mentioned as guiding principle of the culture of dialogue. I have this idea of during mealtime, I asked one Christian to recite a prayer for meal, and then one Muslim for a prayer for meal for the Muslims. And then at one time they asked me, because they call me Mama, and they asked me, Mama, can we have a prayer that is that can be good for all and not always this Muslim and Christian prayer, because this is divisive. And I was so amazed that these children at their age, that was I think 2015, they were still very young at that time. They can already imagine that if you do this, like doing like a Muslim prayer and a Christian prayer, it's divisive for them because they are in one home. Though I encourage them that for the Christians, you can continue to practice your own belief system. For the Muslims, you can continue to practice being a Muslim. What is important for me is you are grounded in whatever you believe in. So during Christmas, the Christians will celebrate. During Ramadan and Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha, the Muslims also celebrate together, and they are in solidarity with one another. So now I no longer ask, oh, what is the impact of what I am doing? Now I can see the impact of what I am doing. Yeah. So that's my story. So any more feedback?
I just wanted to welcome Makiko has arrived. I'm glad you're here, Makiko. We're kind of in a debriefing and questions and answers phase. I wonder if you'd be willing to say a little bit about the other project that you mentioned to me that
Okay.
got us reconnected about 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Last September, I had an opportunity. I mentioned earlier to Jim that in the beginning, NBC was not very well, well, it's not very well in or accepted, especially with the Muslims, because they were asking me about the spirituality. It's more of the spirituality. Well, I can understand that the world for them revolves around the teachings of Islam. So I understand that. Although many times I have shared NBC to different Muslim groups, and then later on I was very much focused on the non-Muslims, although there are some who can come. Last September I happened to share it with, because as I've mentioned, I am taking care of these orphan children, and then sometime in September, somebody who is also taking care of, we call this Toril. These are Islamic schools for young children. And then, of course, these Toril, these are somewhat like a boarding schools for young children. And there are also teenagers in this Toril. And then I happened to share NBC. Actually, the invitation was more of, are you interested, or are you willing to share your experience in taking care of your children, of the orphan children I am taking care of? So I took the chance to share NBC to them, because I mentioned to them that this is how I molded these children that I am taking care of with me. So I introduced NBC to them. Okay. And at the end of the session, well, these are women. Some of them are in the Toril, and some of them are also taking care of children in the Toril, in these schools, Islamic schools. At the end of the session, they were so excited and they were so very thankful that I share this to them. And I can see the eagerness, like they were saying, oh, how I wish you could come to our Toril and you can share further about this to our children. Okay? So that was the invitation. And I mentioned to Jim, it was very challenging. And even at this time, it is very challenging sharing NBC here in the Philippines, because as I have mentioned, if you are going to ask for a fee, like professional fee, they will not invite you, or no one will come to your workshop. So I am having a hard time, like looking for financial resources. Like I would really love to share NBC to different groups, especially those who are really interested. I do not force on people to, oh, we do NBC. There are those who would be in my trainings and workshops, and upon hearing about it, they would invite me. So I would really love to share to as many people as possible, especially those who are really interested. So that was the thing that I shared with Jim, that this is a project that I would like to work on, to share NBC to these tourils to this Islamic boarding schools. And actually, I already have some schedules for these workshops with them. Yeah. Mhm. So this is what I am going to do. And actually, aside from that, I am also working on with how do you call this? Daycare workers, child development workers. Well, it is in our for me to not be traveling all the time. I would like to begin first with those um, in the area where I live. So this is the project that I'm working on. I really love children. So that is why I decided to set up a home for the children. And as much as I would love to take in more and more children, my resources is not also enough. So I just have to have children that I can support. And it's my family that is also helping me with these projects of mine. So that's it.
Thank you.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Amina. It was great, and I learned a lot, and I enjoyed it. And thank you, everybody else too. Jim, it's my first time here, so I don't know who is who, but I like to ask you. I would like to support your cause because I would like to do that too myself, but I don't think I'm able to. For where I live, where do you keep these children, and how can we help you in like maybe money wise or something? Because I'm, as I said, I'm a Muslim myself, and I go through a lot from 9/11 till ISIS till this. They're just playing with Islam a lot all over. And you and I know that Muslims don't smoke opium and heroin and all the ISIS people wear, or drink excessively or at all. So we know that it's kind of fake, but the world doesn't and tastes us anyway. Could you give me some information on how I can help you? And thanks a lot for everything.
Thank you, Roya, and Jim and Jury. They can connect me to you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Jim actually is doing some fundraising for the projects I am doing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you, Roya.
Okay, thanks. I don't know how to contact Jim though, but there is no website or anything. Okay.
Jury is there.
No, but thanks.
Probably Jury can share.
I think Jim has the easiest email
Yeah.
ID, nvctrainer@gmail.com.
Yeah, he's walking in and he'll put where
Yeah.
he wants it to go. And exactly.
Yeah.
I got too confused
thanks.
what I was doing here.
All of a sudden, you got given the keys to the car. In
I
the middle
know.
of the
I'm
trip.
sitting back here.
Yeah, I'll go find the link. And Amina, they could probably give you money directly to your PayPal account too. Yeah. Yeah. So why don't you put your own PayPal link in? That would be the most efficient way to get you money. Yeah, I got this note from Amina a while ago telling me about this project. I got very excited about it, and I mentioned it to my practice group. And
Oh, this is, I just made the connection. Okay, great.
I mentioned it to our practice group that meets every Monday. And you're welcome to come to that, Roya. If you want information, you can just use that email address, and we'll get you on our mailing list. And people were so touched, Amina, and I'll give them the link to this recording so they can follow up as well. And that we've managed to raise about $1,250 for Amina's project. in the Islamic schools. And so I'm very excited to be able to support you in that way, and very touched by the generosity of people, including some of the people on this call here today. Thank you, Suda. Yeah.
Thank you, Jim and the jury, for the support. Yeah.
It's a delight to be able to support that. Thank you. It's a gift to me too. I think you want to shut that door.
Yeah, the sun's coming in again.
Yeah.
I think we saw, what did we see? A video or something, Jory, last week or whatever?
I showed a few pictures that Amina had sent us. And the one that really touched me was the one where there's a group of women working with grok cards or need cards on the floor. That's such a universal image in NVC circles, to see people working collaboratively to figure out what the need is.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very universally touching for me.
Yeah.
In fact,
am so
one of the sets of needs cards that we still use if we ever get back and doing things in person again is a set that our son Jiva took with him to along with Catherine Cadden and Jesse Weens. They did a training in Iran about more than 10 years ago, about 10 years ago. So that was 2006 or 7. And so they're written in English and in Farsi. And it's just so wonderful to have more than one language written onto the cards, again, showing the universality of needs.
Here in the Philippines, I translated those cards in 3 local dialects. So there is the English, and there is 3 other local dialects, because it is, in my experience, it is really nice to be connected with the feelings and needs in your own local dialect.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big difference.
Yeah.
Can you take some questions, or how much time do we have?
We have some time. Yeah, go ahead, Corey.
Well, okay, so you have these children that have been with you many years from young age. And so are they're all about the same age now? They're all teenagers?
Yeah, they are all teenagers now. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Well, they were orphans, so like their schooling is not really like, it does not depend, like some of them are 16 years old, so they are still in high school, so things like that, because they were not able to really go to school at a very early age.
Yeah. And so I was just curious if do they have contact with young children, because oftentimes older children love to teach younger children. I just wondered if there was any mixing of the ages, so these children who've learned NVC can help younger children learn.
Well, these children are going to the regular school. They do not stay at home. I send them actually to the regular school. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was very challenging during the pandemic, because they are all at home and they are doing their modules and not face-to-face classes. So me and 2 of my children are doing teaching them. So I also have to, aside from doing the NVC thing with them, I also have to teach them like mathematics and science and all other subjects, because there is no physical teacher. So we were the physical teachers back then. I am just grateful and glad that they are back to face-to-face classes starting this year. Yeah. So yeah, I enjoyed being with them, like their mother. I only have 3 children, and now I have 3 biological children. Now I have 18 plus 3, so 21 children. And I enjoyed it. Yeah. Really. So are there more feedback, questions?
Not seeing anymore. How about we just do a round and like a checkout round and just see how
Yeah.
the call affected everybody.
Yeah.
And I'll just go on the order on my screen. If you don't want to say anything, you can always just say pass. And Suda, would you be willing to start? And then we'll go to Mickey.
Well, I did say what I wanted to say, and just to say that I'm so glad that I attended. It's been very inspiring and uplifting and hopeful, giving me a lot of hope. Thank you.
Thanks, Suda. Mickey and then Dan.
Thank you. Needs met for learning, inspiration, community, and connection. Thank you.
And Dan, and then Monica.
I'm so grateful for your coming here and your sharing with us and for all of the work that you're doing. I know inside I have more to say, although I'm feeling very tired right now, so it's a little difficult for me to speak. So.
Thanks, Dan. Monica, and then Roya.
I am also a teacher and I infuse NVC in my classroom. So I love listening to everything that you're doing over there. And I travel the world too, and I have Muslim, Buddhists, and all different kind of friends with different religions. And I also travel the world and teach English. Just wondering if you ever needed volunteer. I would be willing to help you if you needed someone to volunteer. Okay, so maybe we can connect later. Yeah, because I'm hoping to, I love what you're doing and I think it's awesome and I love working with kids too. And yeah, I want to support you in any way also. So thank you for sharing. Aloha from Hawaii.
Thank you.
I want to say something and don't be surprised because I don't know why lately Filipinos come to my life a lot, and my neighbor is not Filipino, my physical therapist is Filipino, and so I want to tell you maraming salamat. Did I say it right?
Yes.
That's goodbye in Filipino. Yeah, thank you.
Anuman. Yeah.
You inspired me, thanks.
Thanks, Roya. Corey, and then Donna.
Well, I'm very inspired, and I also was really touched to hear about and sad to hear about the religious prejudice, you know, and the horrible things you've gone through. Being a huge religious minority, and so I learned from that. You know, I've never experienced that myself personally, and I'm touched and just, yeah, sad about reality in that way. You made it more real. I've heard about these things, read about these things, but you make it more real. It's your life. Yeah. And so I'm just kind of dealing with that. You know, it's painful to hear about such horrible exclusions and, you know, cruelty actually. So, but I'm grateful to have heard it, and I appreciate the hopefulness, and you seem very you know, energized to move forward and doing great things for these children. So thank you.
And Donna says she can't talk right now, but she says she's inspired. And Mikiko also is in the middle of a commute, and she writes, "Thank you, Amina. So nice seeing you after a while. Sorry I could not show my face as I'm commuting. I wish to catch up with what you've shared today. I'm always touched and inspired by your work." And then Roya, you have your hand up.
Yes, I wanted to also thank you, Jim. And just tell me, please, how I can, on Monday, how can I join? Do I just click on this thing and I get in, or do I have to communicate?
Just how about you put your email address into the chat, and we'll add you to our email list, and then we'll send you the link. It'll usually comes out on Saturday or Sunday. We send it each week. How does that sound?
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, look forward to seeing you.
And Sophia says, I was working on the problem of Japanese families and social issues. One of the aspects I was involved in was the inhumane involvement of the child guidance centers. As we face the reality that there are few places that accept the voices of parents as well as those of their children, what I've heard today is very helpful. What you have shared with us today is very helpful. Thank you for the hope and the possibilities. And Jory, anything you want to say?
Oh, I feel so lucky that I just wandered down to say hi to Jim. I wish I had been home earlier and had more opportunity to be present here. I'm so touched with everything that I've heard. I actually feel touched to tears as I say it, just how much you're contributing to the world that I really want people to live in. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I mean, I wish we could clone you and make about 1 million copies of it and spread them all over the world to continue the kind of good-hearted work that you provide for our community. And I'm very grateful that you took your time and your life energy to share with us today. This will go up on our website, and I'll see if I can provide some links for how people could continue to contribute to your offerings there, and I'll send you the links as well so that you can share them with other people if you feel led to. Anything
Thank
you'd
you
like
so
to
much,
say
Jim.
to have a sense of completion, Amina?
Yeah, I am so honored and so grateful that I am here with you today. Actually, I was sharing to Jim earlier. I was a bit worried last night because of the power interruption, and I was thinking, oh, I might not be able to make it tomorrow. So there were thoughts coming to my mind that I will ask my daughter to bring me to a place just in case the power will not come back. I would like to go to some place where I can access the internet and be with you today. And thanks be to God because at 2 o'clock the power is restored and I was able to be with you today, and I am really so grateful. Yeah. And I hope to see you again.
Me too. Me too. And I really like this idea of having guest trainers come and teach us something about social change. So I will ask other trainers if they're willing to come to future meetings so that we can all learn different practices from each other and get inspired like we were all inspired today. So I'm really love how life moved in you and me, Amina, to create this opportunity and then to inspire what I hope will become a new series for our first Friday, Saturday of each month. So thank you for being the pioneer here in so many ways. I'm always really, really especially touched by first trainers. And now I've got tears in my eyes. I mean, to think of the hurdles that you must go through to be the first and only trainer in a country with millions and millions and millions and millions of souls who need your support. And I really want to figure out a way that we can get more efficient as an organization so we don't have to clone you, but we can have more certified trainers. Wouldn't it be great to have one in every town with at least 1 million people? You know, 1 in 1 million would be a great start, and that's my goal. Before I die, that we have 1 trainer per 1 million people on the planet. That's only something like 760,000 trainers, but so we've got our work cut out for us, but we can do it. And so thank you so much for being my inspiration, and I thank all of you for coming here today. And we'll see you next month. All right. Aloha, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Hello.
So Amina, I left you my email address in the chat. I left my email address in the chat if you ever would enjoy some volunteers. Overseas, and I also have a compassion child in the Philippines. I've never met her yet. So yeah, so I don't know if you would enjoy that or not, but I gave you my email address if you would
I got it, and thank you, Monica.
Yeah, thank you so much for what you're doing. Aloha.
Aloha.
Mina, I wanted to tell you that, oh, she's gone.
I missed what you said. Jory was talking to me. Did you say something to me, Corey?
Oh, no, I wanted to talk to Amina, but she left.
Okay. All right. See you guys later. Love you, Mickey.